Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. And following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, we are praying to Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Yadi sevā-vañcitāḥ syāma, yasyāḥ kṛpayā vayaṃ labhema, sarvaṃ prāpnumaḥ prayojanaṃ, dhāmni śrī-bhagavat pade, Kṛṣṇa-sambandhi sarvaṃ yadina jānīmahe tutam, Aṣṭādaśasu sahasreṣu, ślokānāṃ bhāgavat-oktiṣu, Rādhārānīṃ navindamatada, nishvalam bhagavat adhyayanam, radhikaya kripam vina, vyartasyat sarva-pariśramaḥ. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Rādhārānīṃ within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, all of our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading today from Canto 5, Chapter 22. We're starting a new chapter. Text 1. Rajovacha Yad etad bhagavat adityasya merum dhruvam cha pradakshinena parikramato rasinam abhimukam Prachalitam cha pradakshinam bhagavato pavarnitam amusya vayaṃ katam anumima mahiti. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadev Goswami, "My dear Lord, you have already affirmed the truth that the supremely powerful sun god travels around Dhruva Loka, with both Dhruva Loka and Mount Sumeru on his right. Yet at the same time, the sun god faces the signs of the zodiac and keeps Sumeru and Dhruva Loka on his left. How can we reasonably accept that the sun god proceeds with Sumeru and Dhruva Loka on both his left and right simultaneously?" Text 2. Sahuvacha yatha kulala chakrena brahmata saha brahmatam tad ashrayanam pipilikadinam gatir anyaiva pradeshantarisvapi upalabhyama tvad evam nakshatra rashibir upalakshitena kalachakrena dhruvam merum cha pradakshinena paridavata saha paridha vamananam tad ashrayanam suryadinam grahanam gatir anyaiva nakshatrantare rasyantare chopala bhyamanatvat. Sri Sukadev Goswami clearly answered, "When a potter's wheel is moving and small ants located on that big wheel are moving with it, one can see that their motion is different from that of the wheel. 」 . 。 . 。 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . 」 . . 」 . 」 . . 」 . . because they appear sometimes on one part of the wheel and sometimes on another. Similarly, the signs and constellations with Sumeru and Dhruva Loka on their right move with the wheel of time, and the ant-like sun and other planets move with them. The sun and planets, however, are seen in different signs and constellations at different times. This indicates that their motion is different from that of the zodiac and the wheel of time itself. Text 3. Sa esha Bhagavan Adi Purusha Eva Sakshan Narayano Lokanam Svastaya Atmanam Trayimayam Karma Vishuddhi Nimitam Kavibir Api Cha Vedena Vijigyasyamano Dvadasadha Vibhaja Satsu Vashanta Dishvritushu Yatopa Josamratu Gunan Vidhadati. The original cause of the cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan. When great saintly persons, fully aware of the Vedic knowledge, offered prayers to the Supreme Person, he descended to this material world in the form of the sun to benefit all the planets and purify the fruit of activities. He divided himself into 12 parts and created seasonal forms, beginning with spring. In this way he created the seasonal qualities such as heat, cold, and so on. Text 4. Tam etam iha purushastraya vidyaya varnashrama charanupata uchavachai karmabir amnatar yoga vitanais chashradhaya yajanto najasashraya samadhi gachanti. According to the system of 4 varnas and 4 ashrams, people generally worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, who is situated as the Sun God. With great faith, they worship the Supreme Personality as the Supersoul, according to ritualistic ceremonies handed down in the 3 Vedas, such as Agnihotra, and similar higher and lower fruitive activities, and according to the process of mystic yoga. In this way, they very easily attain the ultimate goal of life. Text 5. Atasa esha atmalokanam java prithivyur antarena nabho valayasya kalachakra gatodvadasamasan bhunkte rasi samgyan samvatsara vayavan masa pakshadvayam diva naktam cheti sapadarksha dvayam upadishanti yavata shastam amsam bunjitasa Vairatur ityupadisyate samvatsara vayavaha. The sun god, who is Narayan or Vishnu, the soul of all the worlds, is situated in outer space between the upper and lower portions of the universe. Passing through 12 months on the wheel of time, the sun comes in touch with 12 different signs of the zodiac and assumes 12 different names according to those signs. The aggregate of those 12 months is called a samvatsara, or an entire year. According to lunar calculations, 2 fortnights, one of the waxing moon and the other of the waning, form 1 month. That same period is 1 day and night for the planet Pitraloka. According to stellar calculations, a month equals 2 and 1/4 constellations. When the sun travels for 2 months, a season passes, and therefore the seasonal changes are considered parts of the body of the year. Text 6. Atacha yavatardena nabho vityam pracharati tam kalam ayanam achakshate. Thus the time the sun takes to rotate through half of outer space is called an ayana, or its period of movement in the north or in the south. Text 7. Atachayavan nabho mandalam sahajava prithivyur mandalabhyam kartsnyena saha bhunjita tam kalam samvatsaram parivatsaram idhavatsaram anuvatsaram vatsaram iti banor mandyasagriya sama gatibi samamananti. The sun god has 3 speeds: slow, fast, and moderate. The time he takes to travel entirely around the spheres of heaven, earth, and space at these 3 speeds is referred to by learned scholars by the 5 names Samvatsara, Parivatsara, Idhavatsara, Anuvatsara, and Vatsara. According to solar astronomical calculations, each year extends 6 days beyond the calendar year, and according to lunar calculations, each year is 6 days shorter. Therefore, because of the movements of the sun and moon, there is a difference of 12 days between the solar and the lunar years. As the Samvatsara, Parivatsara, and Idhavatsara, Anuvatsara, and Vatsara pass by, 2 extra months are added within each 5 years. This makes a 6th Samvatsara, but because that Samvatsara is extra, the solar system is calculated according to the above 5 names. Text 8. Evam chandrama arka gabhastibhya uparishta laksha yojanata upalabhyamano rikasya samvatsara bhuktim pakshabhyam masa bhuktim sapadarkshabhyam dinenaiva paksha bhuktim agrachari dhrutatara gamano bhunkte. Above the rays of the sunshine by a distance of 100,000 yojanas, or 800,000 miles, is the moon, which travels at a speed faster than that of the sun. In 2 lunar fortnights, the moon travels through the equivalent of Samvatsara of the sun. In 2 1/4 days it passes through a month of the sun, and in 1 day it passes through a fortnight of the sun. Purport. When we take into account that the moon is 100,000 yojanas, or 800,000 miles, above the rays of the sunshine, it is very surprising that the modern excursions to the moon could be possible. Since the moon is so distant, How space vehicles could go there is doubtful mystery. Modern scientific calculations are subject to one change after another, and therefore they are uncertain. We have to accept the calculations of the Vedic literature. These Vedic calculations are steady. The astronomical calculations made long ago and recorded in the Vedic literature are correct even now. Whether the Vedic calculations or modern ones are better may remain a mystery for others, but as far as we are concerned, we accept the Vedic calculations to be correct. And thus ends our reading for today. We will continue from text 9 on Monday. So it's important to remember that this whole, we've said this probably a few other times while reading these sections of Bhagavatam on the Bhagavat cosmology, that the overarching purpose of Bhagavatam is to cultivate love, love of the divine whole, and to impart that into the heart of the reader. So each of these sections, in its own sacred and mysterious way, is doing that. It's trying to cultivate love of the divine in our heart. So, and we've also talked about this idea that Bhagavatam reads us, not that we read Bhagavatam, meaning when we encounter something in Bhagavatam that challenges us for one reason or another, then that's Bhagavatam reading us. We encountered this, we have some reaction, and now how do we respond based on our resolve to cultivate that divine love in our heart. So when we read these topics of Bhagavatam about the cosmos, where it says the moon is farther away than the sun, and that's, as Prabhupada said in the purport, that's obviously not what modern science says. It doesn't seem to be, when we look out at the sky, it seems that the moon is closer. At least that's how we've been taught to understand what we are perceiving. So how do we respond to this tension? And the idea is that hopefully, as the Lord reveals inspiration in our own heart, that we can respond to that in a way that brings us closer to cultivating that bhakti, that divine love in our heart. So that it might look different for each individual person. Not everyone will have the same response, but at least it's worth repeating that this is the framework of this experience of reading Bhagavatam together, and all these very interesting and ultimately we accept Bhagavatam as an incarnation of the Lord, as the book incarnation of the Lord, so we think these things are worshipful. So as we navigate this together, these are things to keep in mind. Just wanted to humbly share that. Is there anything else anyone wanted to say or share?
I have something to say.
Mm.
Um, Science and philosophy are two different subjects, and what we are reading is more of philosophical in nature in Bhagavatam, even though there are some scientific aspects. We cannot really say that, oh, this is not science. Even it's philosophical science. It's not astronomical science. And when they say that moon is, sun is closer than moon, I take it as the Earth's relationship with sun than the moon. Earth is surviving because of sun. Moon is surviving because of Earth. So even in astronomical language. And when we say that, oh, we are very close to sun, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the distance between Earth and Sun and Earth and Moon. It
Hmm.
could be the relationship, it could be the usage, it could be uh, the way that we need to take care of our Earth in respect to Sun. Earth can have another moon, but Earth can only have one sun,
Hmm.
right? Like Jupiter has 290 moons.
Hmm.
So or maybe Saturn. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say wrong things, but yeah, I mean, there are 274 moons. I think it's Saturn or Jupiter. So when they say closer, not necessarily means the distance. It could be the relationship. It could be, uh, association. It could be anything.
Hmm. Nice.
And yeah, I mean, that's how I would like to see. And not everything. And as I said, like, people calculated distances based on their visual estimations. They could be wrong too. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean it's scientifically wrong. They never said this is the exact distance. They said this could be the possible distance. So they were also proposing things hypothetically, but through observations, through certain calculations, through, other means. And we do not, I mean, if I sit in the exam, I'm not going to say, oh, in Bhagavatam, I read that, sun is only so and so far. So I'm going to write. No, I'm going to take my logical scientific explanation that I read from my astronomy book rather than Bhagavatam. So, yes, these dogmas or these dilemmas or these differences, they do exist, but we shouldn't see them through one lens.
Hmm.
That's when we'll be able to reason with everything. And you need both in life to be balanced. You cannot be just one scientific or one philosophical way. You cannot go in just one way.
Hmm.
This is what we call as holistic approach.
Very nice.
Yes.
And just on this point, actually, though, one point about philosophy and science being two different approaches. Actually, so a big part of the work of the Bhaktivedanta Institute is to show that actually our empirical science is itself, it is philosophy. Historically speaking, it's a form of philosophy where certain axiomatic presumptions were made in order for this field of study to then proceed. So, right, empiricism, that's an axiom to conclude that the way to establish the truth of nature is through empirical observation and making deductions based on that. That's a philosophical premise because, right, the whole part with the science of consciousness and what's going on now and the problem of science not looking at consciousness for the past 500 years, that's all a result of that axiomatic presupposition that the senses, um, as they perceive things immediately, that is the basis of empirical observation. But we don't want to look at the fact that the senses are couched in consciousness and that consciousness has certain biases and that this will influence the way we empirically perceive things and make deductions and conclusions. And we've had specifically two scientists at our conferences who are big scientists, acknowledge that, in fact, yes, science is a philosophy itself. One was Dennis Noble. He's a physiologist from Oxford, famous for publishing one of the first books on systems biology. And then Professor J. Scott Turner, who he has three books. He's also a physiologist. His latest book was called Purpose and Desire, and talking about life in that context. And they both acknowledge, based on their sober study of the history of science and the activities, the action scientists are taking and decisions they're making, he said, yes, in fact, it's a philosophy, and that if we understand it like that, then a lot of the issues that science is facing and how it affects modern culture um, are not solved, but you open up the conversation in a much more helpful way if you acknowledge that. So this is all.
Oppenheimer himself was reading Bhagavad Gita all the time.
Mm.
the nuclear scientist who dropped the hydrogen bomb in Japan. He himself was reading Bhagavad Gita. So, yes, you know,
Swati, I want to thank you for always bringing that balanced perspective,
thank you.
because I get caught up in my own lens, which I don't like. And as soon as you started to talk, I'm like, I knew what you were going to say, because I went there as you were talking. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
closer, not necessarily in distance.
Mm.
We have to understand that a word or a phrase can have another meaning than what we're perceiving from our particular lens.
Mm.
So I love when you share.
Thank you. Well, that's the whole thing. You need to open your mind. You need to open you need vision to see, not just the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open your vision, when you expand your vision, that's when you would be able to see the universe in
Mm-hmm.
different lens.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole purpose of Bhagavatam, to
Mm-hmm.
help you expand. That's the consciousness that we are talking about,
Mm.
right?
I
Mind and consciousness. When you read something, you gain knowledge.
yeah,
But, and that's what we do through textbooks, which is good.
yeah.
But for Bhagavatam, you need consciousness. It's not
Mm,
just the mind, it's beyond that,
mm,
right? And that you can only attain it when you open the way you see the world.
mm,
Mm.
Otherwise, it's just the eyes, it's just the textbook, it's just the knowledge for the exam. That's
mm-hmm.
different. That's not bad too.
Mm-hmm.
But we are talking about more deeper level.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Deeper and higher.
Higher, yes, deeper and higher. Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
I
So,
know when
I
when
teach geology and I teach astronomy. So I tell people that I teach until the core of the earth and I teach beyond the universe. So I am from core of the earth till beyond the universe. I'm all over the place. I'm omnipresent.
micro to macro.
Micro to macro, deeper to higher
Higher.
expansions. I'm all over the place. Yeah.
When
I go to the rocks that are present in the core, the tiny rocks present in the core, which is the smallest thing that you can find in the deepest possible
Mhm,
place, to the higher expansion of the other galaxies in the universe, which is not even
mhm.
Milky Way galaxy, it's beyond.
Beyond.
So I am like,
Yeah.
I'm traveling all over the place.
That's great.
But that's only
It's
possible when I also see everything with different lens. I cannot
different
just be like, oh
lenses. Yeah.
yeah, scientifically possible. But yeah,
Mm.
vision.
And I
Vision is
don't
what we are talking about.
think about it in, oh, scientifically versus theologically. I just think of what my experience, I mean, I react based on what my experience has been, but I have to stop doing that because it's just an automatic thing. It's an automatic response. You know, but no, there are other possibilities beyond that. You got to think about it, shift your thinking and open it up, like you said. So that's why it's great to have these conversations with multiple people, especially somebody who is a professor who's got the knowledge, the book. Look at all the books behind you. It's a perfect background for you, um, because you have the book knowledge, but you also have the higher thinking. So I love having you on these calls. It is truly, truly, truly a blessing that you connected with Kṛṣṇa Das, and I
Thank
say that
you.
to him all the time. I'm like, this changes everything, and I love the podcast that you're doing together.
Thank you.
And
I mean, when Prabhuji Krishna Keshav Das ji reads stuff, and when I look at it, and I'm like, oh no, no, this is not what I teach. But then I'm like, okay, this is not what I teach, but this is also something that I need to learn, which
right,
means that, this is the other way to look at it.
yeah,
Yeah, because I can give you the exact feet or astronomical units that's between Earth and Sun. I can give you the exact number of moons that are there. I can give you the exact life of Earth, but that is not what we are talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to listen to that, then join my Monday class on evenings, which is astronomy class. But if you want to go beyond that, then join this class. So
Right,
two different
exactly.
things. You cannot put two different pieces of puzzles and say, oh, they're not the same. That's where you need to like try to intervene and I mean
Yep,
put them together, interlock and say, okay, these are two different pieces of puzzle. They look very different, but the beauty is in figuring out how to put them together. That's when
yeah,
you can solve the puzzle.
right. What the link is, right?
What the
Yeah.
link is, where the link is, and
Mm-hmm.
how to put it. That's more important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there are different pieces of puzzle. They can never look the same. They are never the same. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because Chris and I have these conversations all the time. And coming from a Catholic background, things are so much simpler.
Mm.
And then when learning about Krishna consciousness and all the manifestations of Krishna, and like, oh my God, it's so complicated. It's just, there's so much to it. And I said, I have a headache. He gets excited. He said, that means your mind is expanding.
I hear you. I hear you. Yes.
Just so much to
Process,
learn. And there's
learn.
so many variations, and it's just very complex.
Mhm.
It's very complex, but yeah. So lots of it's continual learning,
Perpetual
perpetual,
learning, eternal. That's what we say. It's
eternal
eternal
learning.
learning. Yeah. It
Yes,
never
Exactly.
ends.
eternal students.
That's right,
Eternal
forever.
students. Yes.
Humble position.
That's right.
It
That's right.
humbles you. That's true. It humbles you.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yes.
sure. So thank you both for giving me a headache.
Tylenol, medicine.
No Tylenol. It's just the expansion of the mind.
Expansion.
Yes. I'm also very grateful to be here in dialogue with both of you, and I'm learning so much, so thank you. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Tirtha Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All
Jai.
glory to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhakti Veda Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Shyam Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tosi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Princeton Bhakti Vedanta Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol, Jai
Haribol.
Maharani Devi Dasi Ki Jai, Jai Śrīmatī Bhaktiswati Ki Jai, Hare Krishna.
Jai. And Jai Krishna Kesava Das Brahmachari Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gurudev.
Hari Om.
Bye, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.